Hey there guys, I am back this week with another awesome jelly roll video for you. This whole month I am releasing jelly roll videos specifically to help you out because this lovely pre-cut is super handy for quick, fast, easy quilts, and I love working with them. Last week we just talked about the regular jelly rolls, the specifics, what to look for, what not to look for. This week we're gonna make a quilt with it, and then next week we're gonna dive into a little bit more of the specifics of it. So first of all, I'm Kristen with IcyStarsQuilting.com, and I share tips, tricks, and tutorials for the modern quilter. If that's something that you are interested in and something that makes you go, ooh, fun, then make sure and hit the subscribe button down below because you won't want to miss what's coming up. I have a lot of fun things to share this month. I actually share things every single month that are fun. This month is specifically on jelly rolls. So today I'm going to show you how to turn this right here. This is just a regular jelly roll. It's actually on the smaller side. This one has 20 strips of fabric that are 2.5 inches tall by the width of fabric wide, which is generally about 42 inches or so, give or take. This one, it has 20 strips in it. Your larger jelly rolls, those have like 40 strips in them. So this is a smaller one. This is gonna make a really nice, cute little baby throw or play mat or something that is on the smaller side. It's not gonna be like a regular person size throw. If you added some borders to it, you can make it a lap size quilt. But today we're just gonna go with this and we're going to make a little baby quilt. So we're gonna turn this right here into this. Isn't it adorable? I love this, and you will be so surprised at how easy this comes. It is not as hard as you think. One of the beauties to working with jelly rolls is everything is pre-cut, so you don't have to worry about cutting accuracy. You can just unroll this gorgeous grouping of fabrics and know that they all coordinate, they all match. I love this sweet pinks and denims in here. I think it's going to be a really cute quilt. It even mixes in some reds, which makes it kind of a modern-y, happy feel to it. So the first thing that I'm going to do with this quilt is I'm going to put it in groups of 4s, okay? So this roll in particular has 20 strips, okay? So if I separate it out, there's 2 strips of each different fabric. So that gives me 10 different fabrics to work with for a total of 20 strips, 2 strips each. So let's split this up into 4 groupings of 5 strips, okay? Now I'm not going to a whole lot of trouble to figure out you know, specifically where they go. I'm kind of doing it randomly, which is really fun about jelly quilts because it's totally allowed to be random. It doesn't have to be anything well thought out or planned. We're just gonna try and make this as spontaneous and fun as possible. Because jelly roll quilts are kind of like a palette cleanser, right? Like, you've been working on all of these really hard quilts and we want to make this easy and just randomly put our strips out. So there, I have my 4 sections of 5 different fabrics. So I'm going to put these others aside and I'm going to work with just the one for right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up to the full length and I'm going to take these to my sewing machine. We're not doing any other cutting or anything right now. I'm going to show you how to make this super easy on yourself and then we'll worry about cutting later. So let's take these over to the sewing machine. Okay, so now that I have my first set of fabrics here, I am going to just take the top 2, set the other 3 aside, and I'm going to put them right sides together so that these edges match up. And I've got wrong sides out, right sides together. A lot of your jelly rolls will come with this like kind of zigzaggy edge right here. That helps the fabric not come apart and pull as easily. So just match that up. I forgot to change my foot, but I actually like to use my 1/4 inch foot on this. This little extra edge here, it's kind of a dark color. If you look closely, you can see it. This little extra edge here is going to be what my fabric butts up against while I'm sewing. So that is going to make sure that I have a perfectly straight 1/4 inch all the way down my fabric seams. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put my fabric in here, right sides together. and I'm going to make sure that they're lined up all the way down my piece here. And then I'm just going to sew a straight line all the way down. Now I like to use a piecing stitch on this when I'm piecing my quilt. So when I say a piecing stitch, that means I normally like to do between a 1.8 and a 2.0 stitch length on here. That way it stays nice and tight together. Okay, so now I've got my needle in the right position. I'm just gonna stitch all the way down this line right here. Okay, so now I have these sewn together, and it's a nice tight stitch. That's why I like the smaller stitch on these. It does take a little bit longer, but I like that nice tight stitch. And I have my beautiful 1/4 inch seam all the way down, nice and straight. Okay, so with these pulled slightly open, I'm going to add this next piece of fabric with the right side facing together, and I'm going to sew it right next to the one that I just did. Right there. So I've got it open, right sides together, and I'm going to sew all the way down this line here. Now let me show you this part right here, down at the bottom. You may have noticed that I started at the top end each time that I added a new piece, okay? And I want you to do the same. Because when it says 2.5 inches by width of fabric, not all fabrics are created equal, right? So we've got these two match up pretty good. This one's a little bit short. So if you start the same at the top, this side will always be even. So let's go ahead and let's add on those other couple strips. So I have these 2 strips left. I'm going to add this one on next because this fabric right here is very, very similar to the one that I just did. So I'm going to add this for a little bit more color. All right, there's our first strips. Now, before we go any further, I want you to take your other 3 stacks that you have and sew them into groups just like this. Towards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strips all the way across. Now, same with this one. I'm not really paying a whole lot of attention to what order I'm sewing the strips in. I have a mix of blues and pinks here, so I'm trying not to put 2 pinks together just because I do want that visual differentiation. Other than that, I'm really paying no mind to which fabrics go where. Okay, so now we have all of our strips sewn together in these 4 different little bigger strips, all right? Okay, so now we're gonna do a quick press on these and then we're gonna cut. It's gonna be so easy after this to put this whole thing together. You're gonna love it. But let's give these a quick press. I like to use a little bit of flatter every time that I use my iron. It just gets the seams nice and crisp. So I also don't need to fuss with pressing them open, okay? This is not a project in which you need to fuss about, okay? So I'm just gonna give a quick spray and then I'm gonna use my iron and I'm gonna press the seams to one side. We're gonna go that way all the way down each of these. And we're gonna do that down each and every single one of these strips that we've sewn together. I like to give it just a nice quick light press on the front as well because I want to make sure that these seams are nice and tight. It'll give you a nice flatter quilt top and a overall better pressed look. Okay, so now I have my strips here and I've got my cutting mat. I'm gonna pull it open, and remember how I told you there was one side where like possibly they're not all gonna match up? This is the side that I like to start with because I know I can get a nice straight flat cut right there. And I am just going to even this edge up. Use my rotary cutter. There we go. Okay, so now that I have this perfectly cut, I want to decide how much I want this to be. You could do them in rectangle strips. I like to do mine in squares. So I want you to take your ruler and I want you to measure from here to here and make sure that you make your pieces square. So right now we're using jelly rolls. If in the future you want to make these strips a little bit wider or a little bit thinner just to get a different look, you'll want to measure from here to here and then make your pieces square. So I'm going to go ahead and measure mine out and make them square. And then I'm just going to keep cutting until I get to the end of my strips. Now, when you're cutting, you want to make sure that you have a really good sharp rotary blade on here, okay? Also, make sure that your pieces are as flat as possible. You don't want any wrinkles in there. Keep them nice and flat. And then just go through and make yourself a stack of blocks. You may find that you have a little bit left over on the end. Go ahead and keep that just in case we come up with something else to do with it. This makes a really cute small project. You can make a cute little bag out of this or something else. Okay, so now that I have all of my blocks cut, I'm gonna put them up on my design board. And the best advice I can give you here is just don't think about it too much. After you get them all up there, if something's not working, you can always change it. So let's go ahead and put them up on the design board and see what we have. Now the first one you're gonna put with the stripes going vertical. The second one that you're going to put the stripes going horizontal. Because the first four on my stack are all the same one, I am going to mix it up and take one from one of my other stacks. So you're going to put it going horizontal. And if some of the fabrics line up because they're the same, it's okay. Don't think about it too much, right? We're just going to keep doing opposites like this until we have a 4 grid by 4 grid, okay? And then we'll work on the next row. So there it is, okay? Now I can look at it and I can say that, you know what? I don't necessarily like how this one right here is leaving all of this exact same pink all in this one area. Obviously it's not the worst thing in the world, but for design purposes, I think I will move this one down here. Whoops, it goes this way. I think it goes this way. And I will put this one that has more blue fabric up here. And just by doing that, I lost that whole spot right there. Now, same thing I can do with this one, is I can move it that way. And now I don't have that like chain of pink that was going up here. Then you're gonna take it off your design board and you're gonna chain stitch it together. Hey, before I sew this together real quick, I realized that I mentioned chain stitching. If you're not familiar with chain stitching, I definitely suggest that you check out a video that I have on it. I explained every single step of the way and how it helps you keep all of your blocks aligned and organized. I'm gonna put the link up top for you to see. Watch that video after you watch the rest of this video. It'll help kind of explain things a little bit more, and it's a really, really handy quilting technique when you're putting all of your blocks together to make sure that they're nice and even and all of those points match up perfectly. So that's it. That is this beautiful and quick jelly roll block here. It's also called a rail fence jelly roll quilt. Very simple, very easy, doesn't take a ton of cutting and piecing and figuring out like you thought it would, right? It's very, very easy. Pop a cute background on the back, and with that one little jelly roll, I got this cute baby quilt. It is going to be a really, really cute gift to give somebody. Make sure that you watch next week's jelly roll video as well, okay? This whole month I'm doing lots of videos on jelly rolls, things that you can do with them, and I have something really, really fun to announce next week. So I hope that you tune in. My name is Kristen with ICStarsQuilting.com, and I'll see you next time. Bye.